But let me also post the YouTube link for the benefit
There's a
of.
Periscope. No, there's a Periscope link already now. Let's use that. I'll retweet that link. No worries.
Sorry, which one?
Periscope link is usually on Twitter, na?
Yeah, Periscope link is there on Twitter.
Okay, I can see it.
I will just put on my LinkedIn account. I'll put the YouTube.
Anything works, yeah.
Yeah, so that people can also go to YouTube if they prefer that. I mean.
Hey, Karthik. Yeah. Good evening.
Hello. Welcome to another session of Freewheeling Friday. You know, a lot of things have happened. Interesting things have happened in the past 1 week. Uber excited to discuss all those things. Vinod, welcome to the show as usual. We are still waiting for Bhargavi to join us. She could join us any moment right now. While that is getting sorted.
Karthik, let me put you on the spot today, right? Because you're making it easy for yourself, asking questions.
Is that the impression that is coming out? You know,
it's about freewheeling, so I will try and make sure it is freewheeling today. So, what's the news that's caught your attention this week from the ecosystem, and that's something that you want to talk about, and why is that the news for you?
So, just 1 second. While you put me on spot, thank you so much. I'm trying to share the link on LinkedIn as well. There are quite a few events that caught my eye, man. First and foremost, obviously, is a few funding news. Somebody raising significant amount of monies. Somebody very close to us raising significant amount of money. So it's really good news for all of us. So that's something that caught my eye. The other thing that caught my eye was the amount of dry powder that is left with a lot of the VCs in the ecosystem. I was just exchanging some notes with a news reporter the other day, and we just realized that there's a lot of dry powder that is left with investors, right? And then the fundraise of Lightspeed, which is also good for the ecosystem. So a bunch of different things. But let me begin by a really cool development, if you will, right? Which is the IPL. We all know that Vivo is no longer sponsoring IPL. It's fun that an Indian company is actually sponsoring it. One, and it also happens to be a startup, a tech startup, which is even better news, if you will. So yeah, those things really caught my eye, man. So you know what I'm talking about, right? Which company I'm talking about?
I think let's talk. It's called Dream 11 IPL now. It's out.
Oh yeah, that's the one.
So we know that, and I think it's interesting for multiple reasons for me, right? I think as a growing kid, right, in India, right, I remember my first sponsors for even the Indian cricket team was ITC, right, the tobacco company, and they actually were pushed out of not sponsoring because they were tobacco companies, and alcohol companies were not allowed to advertise. At some point in time, those regulations came in, and so ITC moved out. And then I fondly remember, Sahara India Parivar, whatever, right? That was like one of the other Indian sponsors.
Yes.
And then after that, obviously these cola majors have always been, fighting between themselves to sponsor major tournaments, be it Coke, Pepsi, sometime even Paytm, as recently. That's where I think, we saw new age companies coming in, sponsoring titles. And now we have this story where, in the past where we've seen, what are the IPLs that we've had, right? We've had Vivo IPLs. Maybe I don't know if we had a DLF IPL. I don't remember in the early years. Now we finally have a tech startup, new age ecosystem player, sponsoring this whole thing. I think
Yeah.
that's like something to be proud of as a ecosystem, saying businesses are maturing, are no longer it's the traditional businesses who are sponsoring it, and even if you notice the people who bid for it, right, it included Byju's and Unacademies, and only Tata was the only traditional other business player who bid for it, which shows the strength of the startup ecosystem, right? In some level, as it kind of grows and matures, I think that's a phenomenal value add. And to all our viewers, right? Feel free to drop your comments and questions. And as we promised, right, we have some surprise guests. Please wait, and you will see who are this. We have not a surprise guest, as of now. That's Bhargavi who joined us.
Well, I mean, it's not a surprise to us anyway.
That I have joined ahead of time, right?
Yeah. So Bhargavi, Dream 11, yeah, they're dreaming so much, right? I mean, we were just talking, me and Karthik, about Dream 11 and what it means for the cricket fans. Like, I mean, I think after 2011, I've not been like watching cricket consistently. Like Dhoni's retirement also this week, right? I mean, that also is an big interesting event, and he was one of the early brand ambassadors of Dream 11, and which kind of took off after Dhoni was made the brand ambassador. So there's like a very strong association between Dhoni and Dream 11. And in our office, we had bats signed by the entire Indian cricket team, and Dhoni's pictures are in our office. Used to be the ex-office, right? So we had
I was wondering. Java is a digital first.
At Kalari's office, we had Dhoni's signed merchandises, Indian cricket team signed merchandises. So I think, we also got tickets for the IPL, So I think all the sports I'm going to miss when this new IPL is going to happen, Karthik. Yeah.
Yeah, so see, it's not only cricket lovers, right? Even for startup ecosystem, this is a very good thing. And I read a post somewhere that after a very, very long time, Dream 11 is probably India-owned company. I can't say purely Indian company for a lot of reasons, but domiciled in India is probably the right term, which is sponsoring IPL. I don't know how true that data point is, but I read a lot of LinkedIn posts on that.
Yeah.
So, which is again a very big thing, right? I'm just waiting for more brands to come. I can guess couple of brands which will probably do it next year. So, just waiting for more.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
interesting.
I think that conversation, at least couple of Twitter conversations, right, on this Chinese thing, right? Somebody saying, okay, first ban the Chinese products, then you ban companies which have Chinese investment. And I mean, Chinese investment is there in ICICI and HDFC Bank. What do you want me to do? Shut down my bank account now? Like, I think it's a very, very difficult political question if I have to wade into it. But everywhere, right, the phone, this laptop, I mean, everywhere there is, right? I mean, we have to do this long term. And if you're really serious about this, rather than, nitpick, I can't withdraw money from HDFC then, because there's HDFC, some Chinese companies have bought a lot of stock in it. So it's going to be like very tough to justify those, very, very hot political commentary. And I just saw Harsh's interview on CNBC. You say, look, we'll do anything that the government says us to, which is a fair point. I think we should not blow it up too much. And it's a fine balance. We'll do what is required. Seems to be the right approach. Yeah.
So,
Hot water. Yeah.
just yesterday, right? My dad's phone broke down. It's a Xiaomi phone. Probably, I'm hoping that I won't get a lot of slack from it.
Now people are going to be uncomfortable telling that they own a China-made phone, that they own a China stock.
We bought it before the whole situation this year, so I hope I won't receive a lot of flack for this. But then again, I was looking online to see are there any non-Chinese options, right? Beyond Samsung, I think everything else is like either there is a Chinese connect or it's a Chinese
Nokia.
manufacturer. Yeah. So, but there are like few and far in between, right? I mean, you can just count them on your
Yes.
fingers, right? It's strange. It's entrenched, man. The whole tech scene, the Chinese have been entrenched. I think they've been um, an interesting development with all of this going on, right? We'll have to see how this evolves into in the future, in the near future. And I think we talked a little bit about who are going to fill the gap, the void that is left by the Chinese investors in the market, right? All things said and done, I think Dream11 is very much an Indian company. It's so good to see startups doing very, very well, that they get top billing, backing,
Yeah.
things like IPL, and I'm sure more like this will come about.
Yeah. Like
Byju's is already doing it, and Academy is doing it. So, Bhargavi, you went so far to uh, guess, who will be the next one. So, would you be kind enough to shed some more light on it?
I'm expecting couple of Indian brands, right, which have raised beyond Series B, and it's not only funding. So some of the brands I know are not only fueled by investor funding; they are doing good sales. They have achieved 100 plus crores, 150 plus crore sales as well. So it can be one brand, or for all it can be just two, three brands joining together and doing it as well. So let's see. But
Yeah, I
whether it's
think.
worth doing it or not is a completely different topic and discussion, which we
Right.
will do later. Because coming from FMCG background and seen it in big conglomerates, how these conversations happen in brand spends, even sponsorships. There is always two sides of views, and both will start making sense beyond a level. So that is a completely different topic, of course, whether it makes sense for startups to do it.
Okay.
yeah.
Great, guys. If you guys are just joining us, we're live on YouTube. We're also live on Periscope, Twitter. So, any questions, feel free to type in. We will get to those questions. If you want to share any comments, feel free to do that as well. We'll try to see if we can, invite you to join the conversation as well. Right? Great. Vinod, do you have more questions for me to
I
put me on
wanted to
spot?
have a question for Vinod,
Yeah.
Yes.
because so when we were discussing, right, what are we going to discuss? I think Vinod more than once specified that he wanted to discuss about how this lockdown or how this work from home is going to impact the gender diversity which is there, or gender imbalance which is there in the current workforce, how it's going to pan out. So, uh, what are your views on that, both of you?
No, I think I fundamentally see, this work from home option, right, is like, I mean, I wouldn't call it a boon, but I see it's a blessing in disguise, to see, there is potential for bringing in a higher female labor force participation in the economy itself, right? So I've been reading a bit on that over the last couple of weeks and shared a couple of articles also. um, we are like bottom of the pile, we are lower than some of the other neighbors for us, and that's like less than 20%, I think, right? We're talking of participation, and imagine a 1% participation. I mean, I sense somebody was talking, gives like tremendous multiples into GDP. I think it's just a very social and economical problem, and not just like one of gender, right? One of I think that's where I see it. I think nobody is even talking about it, right? It's not even a mainstream discussion that's been had, right? I mean, I saw Kunal Shaw tweeting one day, 1 year back, Rajanandan tweeting someday, and that's where it's there, If somebody like we're talking about health, sanitation, right? And if you want to grow into a large economy, right? I think this will be super key, and we've not even touched on that, or we don't even talk about it, on a day-to-day basis, like we talk about, other issues, in this country. If this, Modi made a speech at the Red Fort talking about sanitary pads from the Red Forts, I think it requires that kind of conversations really, from the top of the leadership. If we have to see change, and I think it's not like top-down driven also, right? Like all of us have to figure out, how do we make sure that we allow our people like your sisters, our wives, how do you create independence for themselves, right? Without a lot of times, right, unconsciously we ourselves, admit, and I should admit, we are unconsciously obstructionists to their careers, right? We don't tell them, they don't, complain. Maybe, that's the whole thing. But I think that's something we have to think, what can we do, right? And with this work from home situation, right, it just feels like, look, you can do half the job at home now. They can also work, right? So I think this changes something. Like, for example, I was reading somewhere, White Hat Junior, all the teachers are women.
I mean, yeah, almost everybody.
Almost all of them, 5,000.
Yeah, we should also tell about one of our companies, which we will announce soon. Will also play a significant role, right, with their offering to encourage the participation.
Correct. So, like we are very unconsciously, obstructionist, we should be super conscious to, encourage women to join work, be it part time, even gig, be it like this white hat teachers or any other. See, potentially, if you, me, and Karthik can sit and run Java Capital sitting at home, right? Anybody can do anything, Like I'm saying, as long as it's not hard labor or manufacturing or factory, rest of the world kind of opens out, and that is like a great opening, right? I'm like, would be super excited to see, some people actually just focus on that and talk a lot more about that, and do whatever that's required, I think we're not even just talking for the sake of, doing some justice here. Look, the economy will grow like drastically, yeah, and we'll be able to like be in a better position as a whole country, right? It's no more about that, we're trying to help others. As a whole country, we'll be able to do way, way better if we ensure just one of this, right? The math on that is like, I've seen some reports, like it's a phenomenal number if we can do it actually. Yeah.
Nice.
So if we take venture capital, right now the industry that we are in, I think even that right now we pretty much stagnated at around, or startups or venture capital in general, right now, not beyond 12%. I think the number of women founders, will actually reduced, I think, this past year. That's a report that I read somewhere. I think it's a Bain report or a BCG report. I'm not able to recollect, but which I thought was a little saddening, right? I mean, we would expect that number to go in the opposite direction. Hopefully, it'll change. I think with people like Bhargavi, taking the baton, right? Honestly, like I really don't know why. Is it because there are not enough women who are interested in these particular roles, or is it a societal pressure? At least in the circles or in the bubble that we live in, right? Or I live in. I don't think that there's a lot of difference between how we treat women and how we treat men, right? But I think over the years, like if somebody is coming from a different strata or a different background, it'll build up over a period of time and sort of have an impact on their confidence or maybe even the choices, the career choices that they make. Yeah.
No,
If you're just joining, I wanna announce our special guests who are going to join us at the bottom of the hour at 6:30 precisely in another 10 minutes. Drum roll. Do you want to announce the?
Yeah, we have 10 more minutes. They're going to take the join us, Karthik, at 6:30. Maybe we should do. What are your picks for the week? Which companies you saw? Top of the mind, funded companies on top of your mind.
Yeah. I will do that. I just want to prime my audience for 6:30. Okay, there you can see it on the screen now, like magic. Uh,
Oh yeah, I saw.
Yippee! So we'll be joined by the founders of Trell at 6:30. So if you're listening on, stay online, don't drop off. It will be an interesting conversation to have with all the latest context from TikTok. But even without that, right, irrespective of the fortunes of TikTok, Trell is a company which has come into its own in the past year and a half with a large user base, which we know we'll talk a little bit about. But having said that, you just hold on to your guns. I wanted to talk about a couple of things that happened right in the past 1 week, which is the funding announcements. Right, obviously we have the funding announcement for Trell coming in, which we will delve into a little bit deeper when the founders join us at 6:30. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is the funding in the edtech space. Right, it continues to be a hot sector.
Pouring, money pouring.
Pouring in, exactly, right? I mean, if there is one sector that everybody is bullish on now, is edtech. So it wouldn't be surprised if more and more companies announce their fundraisers. Existing companies or even new companies who are raising a lot of money, right? One company that I wanted to talk a little bit about is Lead School, which raised $28 million from Westbridge in their Series C funding. It really caught my eye because these guys are in a very difficult sort of a space, right? In general, because they have to work with traditional schools, brick and mortar schools, helping them go digital, right? Which is like a really big challenge for a lot of startups who have tried and failed in that space. And I think I don't know if there is any other startup that I could really think of, which really cracked this space like Lead School has done.
Not in India, but yeah, in the US there are, yeah.
Yeah, definitely not in our country, right? So kudos to them for doing that. And $28 million, it's a large fundraise too, right? Um, any thoughts on that specifically, Margavi? What do you think?
See, definitely the space which they are operating in is very hot. So, I think very briefly we had a chat as well, right? Suddenly, investors seem to think that, yeah, this is very interesting. This is getting very interesting. But I think fundamental issues which was there in the space before has not probably changed. Selling to schools is one of the most difficult spaces, right? In terms of your cash flow, in terms of the time it takes to convert, and a lot of other factors, right? The quality of delivery. So many things matter for a company to succeed. So I don't know how much of those fundamental factors have changed now,
Hmm.
suddenly for this to pick up. But the reality is, I'm seeing, I'm hearing a couple of other startups also which have started looking into providing curriculum, providing a package curriculum, integrated curriculum. And if I integrated curriculum, it's not just curriculum, right? They also give guidance on delivery. They also provide technology and probably physical materials as well. So it's completely integrated. So I have heard about one another company as well, which is now pivoting into this. So it's very interesting. But frankly, what they are trying to do is like need of the hour, and if India is ready, it's really required because this is what happened in the West, right? So currently, why do we have couple of big names in the West which have become integral to in-class way of delivery, teaching? So that has to happen in India. Probably it will start with tier one, tier two. I'm betting more on tier two than tier one schools because I think tier one schools already have something either in-house or got from outside somewhere. So I think it's probably going to be adopted more by tier two schools. Uh, but it's very interesting. Uh, I think only time will answer on how schools adapt this, how schools react to this.
Great. Yeah. So Karthik, I don't know about your pick. My pick for the week, right, from what I've seen, is this company called Pixxel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's no other choice.
You have taken all of our picks, okay? So
So I was actually a bit surprised. I'll tell you why. We've seen people investing in space over the last couple of years. We've had 5 6 companies, and at least I've met or spoken to at least most of them. So Pixel came as a surprise, not because it was in the space domain. It's because Lightspeed and Bloom and the inventors punting on them at this stage, right? It just makes it a lot more interesting now that some of the mainstream venture capital players, if you have to look at it, right, they are wanting to play in the deep space, deep tech space, and in the space tech itself, right? I mean, that shows really a couple of things. One, maybe these companies are starting to mature, and people are realizing it's enough on these ventures. The other thing is exciting is now that there can be a lot more fundamental breakthrough science innovation that can happen in India. Mainstream VCs start supporting it, so that people like us can comfortably fund some of these innovations at our stage. I think it is a very, very welcome development that I see it, for the venture ecosystem, that mainstream VCs are willing to take a shot at deep technology companies now.
Yeah, I think one more thing that I wanted to say is a lot of people might have some misconception that angel investors or pre-seed investors don't have a role to play in backing deep tech companies like this, right? I tend to disagree with that. I think there's a lot of scope for a lot of angel investors to work with these companies on various aspects, not just funding, right? But there are other ways that you can add value. And obviously, if you're working through a syndicate, all the more reason why you should be looking at adding these companies to your portfolio. Your work with your syndicate lead and expanding your portfolio and whatnot. And I do really think that as a good investor, you should not discount all these new deep tech innovations that are coming out of our ecosystem, and really, really commendable, right? The kind of, even us, we are looking at quite a few deep tech companies solving some of
yes,
the really complex problems, right? Be it chip design or launch vehicles or very exciting time for India. I think we've turned a page in, going from mimicking whatever is done in the West to really innovating and coming up with these
Yeah,
innovations.
absolutely, Karthik. One more generation of innovation, right? I think we'll be almost on par with some of the other markets in the world, almost, right? We just started fundamental innovation now. I think we'll get there in the next couple of 5 10 years. We'll be on par, if not today. But we already see that. Like some of the best companies in the world, chip design happens in India. The design happens in India. Obviously, I mean, it's not we don't own all these patents, but it happens in India. And there are companies which are getting funded now than ever, right? I think the first wave was more consumer and internet, and the second wave was services and the likes play. Then you had SaaS. SaaS is again a great story that's possible out of India. I think similarly, I sense deep tech will be another wave which we're starting to witness, and it's not too far. When we see an Elon Musk wanting to say I launched it out of India because it's one labor arbitrage plus technology advantage. Both will kind of start playing out. We could do what Elon is doing at maybe 1/10 of the cost. That's like the possibility. Frugal engineering that's possible out of India, and that's the leverage that that India engineers would bring to the table. And we should innovate and continue the tradition. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, just you guys continue the conversation. Karthik, maybe you should talk about your.
yeah. I think company which raised capital or important company which raised capital is Trell. So we will hear more about that funding from the horse's mouth. We are waiting for the founders of Trell to join us soon. So whoever has joined us just now, stay tuned. We expect them to join us in a couple of minutes from now.
Yeah, I think our surprise guest is already here. So let me just loop him in 1 second. Hey, Pulkit.
Hey, hi Karthik, how are you?
Hi.
Pretty good, man. How's it going? Welcome to
All
the show,
fantastic.
buddy.
Hi Vinod, nice to see you. How are you?
All good, Pulkit. Thanks for joining, man. As I said, I hope you have the beer in your hand.
We are in a public setup. I don't drink beer for the time being.
Amazing, good. Thanks for joining again. It's like all of us, been anticipating. I think a lot of folks are saying, what happened to the Trell guys? All of a sudden, or out of the blue. I mean, obviously, it's not surprising for me that that you guys have done what you've done. Because I've seen you from the day one when you were in Bombay to coming to Bangalore, right? I'm not surprised. I think I expected. What are you guys feeling now that you achieved? Not like everything is done, but I know that this is a very important milestone in the journey.
Correct. So
What
I
is
think,
it like?
Vinod, for me, what we personally believe in is that 1,000 nights of toil lead to overnight success, which people say that out of a sudden where Trell has come from, right? But I'm sure like you have been seeing the efforts that we have been kind of doing at the backstage for a very long time, right, to develop this community. So I think it feels really, really humbled and really exciting to see finally all the hard work paying off. More than that, I just love to see faces of my team members, right? They are at all time what do you say, high temperament and high tempo. Like they're so happy with all the hard work that they kind of put in. Is finally showing them exponential results, right, rather than just expecting a linear result. And they're so better that they didn't imagine that they would have that normally measured in a Excel sheet, that okay, I'll plan for this, right? They couldn't plan for this, right? So I think those are some of the exciting times to live. More than anything else, I think what we are doing is we are enjoying our time, chatting with each other, appreciating the efforts that everybody has put in, and just kind of enjoying the moment for time.
Pulkit, we have your partner in crime
Yes, absolutely.
live as well. Welcome, Prashant.
Hi Vinod.
Hey,
Hi Vinod.
hi,
Hi,
Prashant.
Prashant.
Hey, at least have you
Hi.
got your beer, man? I said you should get your own beers.
Oh, is it? I'll get my beer in that case. I'll get it by
No,
now.
I'm just joking, man. Oh, okay. You are actually getting it. Fine.
Vinod, there's yours. I thought you will come as a, the coolest person here.
See, I have it.
This is hot beer, is it?
Yeah. Pulkit, Prashant, I was asking, Prashant, what does it feel, man, after like 3 years of, grinding, right? You've got some milestone, which is interesting, and everybody is like, seeing you guys now. You are out in the open, and Pulkit was telling me, 1,000 days and maybe 1 day of glory. What do you feel? Because I mean, whenever I've interacted, right, with you or Pulkit, right, you guys are almost trying to be on a treadmill. Many times, falling off the treadmill. But what does it feel now like?
I see. Vinod, I think this is, you have seen us from the very beginning, and who better than you would have seen us closely, right? I think the best part about our team is that it's still day one. And till you don't get there, you don't get there. That's the kind of attitude that a team today has, and that's the best part about this company, about the whole team. Now, talking about I mean, there's nothing like overnight success. What we one thing that I'm very proud of is we're a team which is built of humble and hardworking people, who have a very clear eye on where they want to get to. Now, talking specifically about this, right? I mean, Pulkit would have told that this whole round was not happening in a frenzy. We raised our 4 million round with Fosun and Sequoia Search, and that closed in the month of February this year. And soon after that, we had, and KTB has been amazing with us, where they have been tracking us, talking to us for quite some time. They visited our office couple of times, and there was a crazy sense of conviction that was there in all the people who are backing us today, be it Samsung, be it KTB, be it anyone else for that matter, right? And they have been talking to us. And the term sheet we would have got in the month of, I think, April or May. I mean, I don't remember very clearly. So essentially, the round was anyway happening. Just that with this whole TikTok ban or other Chinese app ban, suddenly a lot of focus came back to the whole creator economy, that hey, where these creators will go. And people ended up realizing that hey, there's a company already there which is focusing on creators for the longest time. If you remember, right, in our pitches, we have been talking about creator economy from the very beginning, right? If you see, when people, this is very interesting. Me and Pulkit used to work on our conversations and come back to each other and for discussing the feedback and so on. And people used to tell us that hey, why would people create on your platform? And we kept on telling them that they'll create on the platform, and this is what we are building for. And over time, it kept on getting up layer by layer. And suddenly, a couple of months back, people started seeing that hey, there's already a platform which is back then at around 800,000 people creating every single month. Now that's crazy, right? They said, hey, how many people are creating on the platform? And that number was crazy, and then it kept on increasing. It multiplied by 4 or 5 times. So yeah, I think that whole foundation was pretty much there, and that has been the core of the company. People were building on top of it. So, and that still continues, right? The amount of hard work that the team is doing right now is much more. They are making sure that whatever we did, we are continuing that. So I think that's what defines this company, and that's what defines this team, and we are on our path. Hardworking every single day. So yeah.
Great, awesome, Prashant. Karthik, you have something?
Yes, I do, Prashant. Okay, while you're working on that, Prashant.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yes.
No, I wanted to admit, I always ask.
Cheers.
Cheers, man. I always ask, founders who come onto my show on the podcast also, right? Like, how many times did you have to hear no before somebody said yes? So different people came up with different numbers. I'm just keeping a count of the highest number, right? So far it's been 200 pitches, 200 no's before somebody said yes, and that is for a company called Bugworks by Anand Kumar. Let me just ask you, how many times you had to hear no before somebody said yes?
I'll answer this question, and that, so.
Does it beat the record?
No, we don't look at that. We don't look at the no's.
Correct.
We only have looked at the yes. And
we have got a lot of yes.
Yes, absolutely, right? Look at my cap table. There are so many yes.
Yeah.
I think that's like a very interesting perspective to put, right? In some sense, yeah. That's very interesting to hear that.
No, we were never, to be very honest, we were never worried by the no's. Because to be honest, we were lucky to have some amazing people on board who kept us informed and aware of what goes behind raising a fund. And they told us very clearly from day one, Prashant, Pulkit, Bimal, Arun, it's not going to be easy. You have to focus on the right kind of partner. And I think that's what we kept on doing. We kept on focusing on people who believed in us. And I would say we have been lucky to find the right kind of people who have been backing us, who are proud in what we have done. So, yeah.
Yeah, so Pulkit, have you been surprised also at times, right, when suddenly somebody backs you, out of the blue, you didn't expect, how has those stories been? At least I remember some China calls with Prashant, right, overnight stuff happening. I mean, why does that happen, or like, why? What do you think? Suddenly things change. Is it like that one small incident, serendipity, or what changes? At least, is there something that you guys remember, recall?
So I think we have been through this cycle of raising funds multiple times now, right? And You only require one yes. Till then, everything is an emotional drive, right? You don't know what is a signal that somebody else is giving. You don't know whether they really mean what they're saying or they are just saying it so that you feel good. And sometimes they do tell you things which you feel bad about. Why were we not doing this and we are doing what you are doing, right? So it's an emotional journey at the end of the day, right? And you go through all sorts of those, emotional cycles. And what we finally kind of aim for or optimize for is that one yes, right? You need just one believer at the end of the day, right? Who essentially matches with the frequency, who understands your vision, and who is ready to travel the journey with you, right? And that's what happened, right? So that's where it's always been like, right? So you meet 100 folks, 99 might not understand the way you are kind of thinking about the world, and then you need just one person who just gets it, right? And who just is able to see it the way you are kind of looking at the things. And that's where everything changes, I think. That's what happened with us, right? Even in the China trip that we did, right? We found some believers. Then we found people who wanted to know more about us, wanted to be kind of having conversations with us for a longer time. Some of them saw in front of them we kind of growing from almost like 3 digits number to 5 digits number, right? So I think it's just like trust building at the end of the day, right? Once they see that what you're saying is actually panning out really well, and they've been watching you for long, they just want they I don't think they have another option than to trust you, right? That yes, this is gonna pan out the way you are thinking about
Great.
it.
Yeah.
I think that's a very good point that Pulkit is making. I'll just add one more line to it, and not a lot of paragraph, I would say. This is just one line which somebody told me that people do business with people, and that stays with me. People do business with people, and whatever it takes for. I mean, at the end of the day, you and your team are the people who are running the business. So, so broadly, that's what you have to establish. You have to establish that people to people connect, for people to understand what you're doing, for people to understand your larger vision, and why somebody to back you.
Awesome. That's interesting. So let's look a little forward. So we've been looking at backward all this while, right? So let's look a little ahead. The TikTok ban, the impact of that, is visible already. But what should we anticipate, going ahead? That what will Trell look like, or what is that you guys want to see as this large vision for yourself, right? At some level, Trell is like above the churn, right? It's got the churn and it's come out of the churn, and you are almost a cream in the space now, right?
I think, Vinod, it's also not fair to reduce the conversation just to the context of TikTok ban, right? Because Trell, in its own right, you know what I mean?
I think you're absolutely right, Karthik. So many companies came up just after the ban, but Trell, right, as Prashant was already mentioning, right, it was already there as a creator's economy in place already. It's just that it got much more mileage and recognition. In some sense, it was a tailwind for them. They were already there, even ahead of most others, other players in the market who just came after the ban or just in the ban story. That's why I'm saying, they were already above the churn, and this just helped them to take multiple elevations already in some sense. How do you see that, guys? Now that you are there, you've been this point now. What do you see as a story from here?
I think to take that up, we'll just focus on our basics, right? We'll just focus on what we have been doing for so long, which is focus on our users. Their needs are going to change. Their needs are going to evolve. We'll evolve with them and be the best platform or be the best team to provide them the superior experience that they've been always looking for, right? And I think that's only what we understand, and that's only what we do. Right, at the end of the day.
I love your answer. I love the answer. I mean, this is the final answer that I think and Karthik, we have to see this one thing, right? I mean, if such events change your course, then the course was not right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think what Pulkit said was very profound. And and I think we should just quickly look back and see what he said. He said that what we have been doing that, and we'll do it better and we'll evolve. I think he said it all.
इतना profound हो गया यार आजकल तुम लोग from.
Thanks to you, we got a lot of wisdom from you, and obviously Karthik also, right? So I think a lot of that comes from you guys, wherein I'm sure, like as founders, we tried a lot of things in the journey in a tactical manner also. But what we really realize is what works as a founder for you is focus on your consumers, right? Just do that. Rest everything takes care of
So
itself.
let's make it more interesting, right? I just want to ask, when will you sponsor IPL? Tell me that now.
Oh, probably this IPL, but we are calming our horses down. I think more than sponsoring an IPL, it's about whether our users kind of look at us something which should be associated with the IPL, right? So as of now, I think we are a little distant from there, right? We have our own focus on solving for meaningful content, right? Probably if somebody from the cricketing team wants to come on Trell and start sharing their experiences, I think we have built an audience wherein we are right fit for making a bet on IPL, right? So I think this is how we think about it. But definitely exciting things happening, and you will see Trell doing some sort of amazing stuff during IPL days as well.
But before the IPL, we already had an anthem.
Correct.
Rounds, right? I mean, that's a brilliant anthem that Sukhinder has done. And
I saw that. Yeah.
I mean, we are creating our own waves. We don't need an IPL to create waves.
Guys, as you guys look forward, right? Obviously, now that the fundraising thing is on the back burner, at least for now, right? Until you need to raise funds again. I'm sure it'll be sooner rather than later at the pace that you're growing, right? Just give us a sense of how large the platform is, right? Just so people can understand, what we are talking about, how you've grown in the last couple of years, right?
Prashant, would you like to?
Oh, I think
Share some stories.
Yeah, so I think I'll talk about till June.
Yeah.
And Pulkit will give you a picture of post June. So let's Pulkit break this particular question in two parts.
Sure.
So let's call it BC, before COVID and.
Yeah, so I think January of 2019, we were at around 200,000 monthly active users. June of 2020, and it is before all the ban and so on, we were at around 9.5 million monthly active users.
Correct.
And looking at the other key metrics, for example, let's say back in January of 2019, we were at around 15 to 16 minutes time spent per DAO per day. And we improved the platform in a way where June of 2020, we were at around 35 to 40 minutes. That ranged between that particular number, time spent per DAO per day. Now, if you look at the creator scale, in the month of June 2020, we were at around 800 to 900,000 people creating every single month. And they were creating 3 to 4 content pieces in a given month, which means consider 3.2 million, 3.5 million content pieces uploaded on a platform. And all of this content is not a forwarded content. It's a original, meaningful content. And back in January of 2019, we would be at around, I would say how much, 20,000, 25,000 creators creating every single month. So from 20,000 people creating every single month to 800,000, and from 200,000 monthly active users to around 10 million. So that's the journey we did till June. And when things changed, I think Pulkit will give a picture of how things have changed now.
Yep. So talking about it, I think in totality, users had created somewhere around 20 million content on our platform till June. In the last month alone, we got more than 15 million content pieces on our platform, right? So it just doubled up in a matter of 30 days, right? And that is the kind of growth we saw. From top line, we grew from 9 million monthly actives to nearing 30 million monthly active users. Time span is consistent. The retentions are off the roof. We have almost doubled our retentions from what we were earlier at, right? And that is the real power of community, right? When the network comes, they just want to stick together, right? As a society, right? And that's something which is happening on the platform today.
So if you compare yourself to which all platforms, right, in India, right, like LinkedIn, Twitter, I think then you would have breached some of these, right? Already, I'm assuming, right?
We could look at it from the creation point of view. I think with creation and with original content, I think with original content being created, with content being meaningful, I can be double sure that we would be the biggest.
And
Already.
that's outstanding. Yeah, I think I didn't even know that you would be the top content creator in India as we speak, right? Like, given Twitter and all that, right? I think that's like outstanding in like 3 years, right? I think.
No, so
Yeah.
the point here is, let's say with Twitter, a retweet is considered to be a creation event, right? In our case, it's you creating your entire content piece, putting it together, and pushing on the platform. That's what we call as creation. So when we look at this genuine act or the original act of creation, we're just comparing that particular piece. Right? Forwarding, resharing, and all of that are, I would say, they're creating waves. But I'm talking about the first drop into the ocean. That's what I'm talking about.
But Prashant, to put this in context, right? These are staggering numbers. First of all, I think it will take a while for people to digest these numbers. One, but to put it in context, now you've surpassed Twitter, right? As a platform with the monthly active users that Twitter has, and you clearly surpassed it. That in itself is quite an achievement, right? I mean, and the beauty of the product is that it reaches those segments of population that are traditionally left out by a lot of the these existing platforms, right? Talk to us a little bit about how the creators platform is the game changer here, right? What went into that? What is the secret sauce that has gone into that?
Don't tell the secret, huh? Just tell them.
I think Pulkit is the best guy to talk about.
Just enough that so you could create FOMO for your next series investors.
Sure. So, I think what we really did was, right, we understood very early on that people in India don't want to consume content which is very westernized in context, right? So I'll tell you from how the journey of Trell started, right? So me being a foodie, Prashant is into, bike riding, Vimal is into movies and TV, and Arun into gadgets, and all of us kind of very avid, internet browsers, right? We used to go there and kind of search for a lot of meaningful content on the internet, right? And we used to find ourselves stuck with the clickbaity blogs written by people with whom we had no connect. A lot of content which was very American in nature, right? So for example, if you search what to cook from your hostel room, they suggest you a recipe with a marshmallow and a baking happening in your, hostel room. Now just imagine you doing that in India. Or searching for a wedding dress, they would suggest you a tuxedo with tight pants, and imagine you going there with a traditional Indian wedding, right? So these were the mismatches that we are finding on content on the internet, right? And we said that lifestyle discovery is a huge problem in India, right? And if we are facing this issue, I'm sure 99% of our users would just not be able to relate with whatever is there on the internet. They must have lost the hope that internet could even provide that. Right? And that was what was happening in India, right? If you ask them, have you searched for a street food destination on the internet? They would say, no, who finds that on the internet, right? So that kind of outcomes or that kind of answers that came from the users motivated us enough that yes, there is going to be a society made on the internet which is going to be regionalized, which is going to essentially create and consume content in your own languages, right? And they would essentially create all of these kind of content pieces which will be trustable, right, which will be relatable, and hence you could essentially be able to do it in your real world, right? And for all of this, you require to build community, right? And that is where we went. We essentially said that even before kind of building a platform or an app or an interface, we first went ahead with building a community, right? So we went to all the existing social networks that we talk today, started sharing a lot of content by curating it from a lot of community members, grew to like more than 100,000 followers on an Instagram in a span of like just 6 months. This was when Instagram was new to India. This was 2015, 16. Started kind of getting in touch with these users, lived their life, right? We started holding meetups, we started making friends, started going to their homes for the parties, for all sorts of things you can imagine. And we understood for a matter of fact that these guys don't want to use the existing social networks, right? They were using it because they don't have an alternate, right? And that is where, the idea of how we could enable them to express in their own languages came into the picture. right? We understood some fundamental insights of why these people are coming and creating content on the existing platforms, but they were not comfortable to express in their own language. And from there on, I think the journey of Trell started and kept on compounding on top of it. And I think thanks to all the other factors that happened around us, thanks to Geo Revolution, which brought all sorts of users now online, right? It just kind of created a way for all the internet entrepreneurs to really build Bharat first solution or an India first solution, rather than adopting the Western technology and thinking that it will work out on an India one kind of deal. So I think we had to think from a very first principles point of view to really come up with this, over a period. And that's I think why it kept on growing.
No, I think Pulkit, that first principle is what made you very different from people. In some sense, who cropped up post a TikTok ban alone being the only criteria, and that sustainability was already built in, because of the first principle. That's how I used to think, at least in a sense, right? It was already there, and it was not a new approach.
Correct.
Virat, Pulkit and Prashant, I have a question from one of the viewers. So I'm gonna put that across on the screen. So you guys can see it, but basically, he's just wondering. Pratap is wondering how you were able to attract users otherwise going to YouTube or Facebook or other platforms, right? I think that's an interesting question. Would one of you like to take it?
Sure. So I'll take it up. So talking about our users on Trell, right? So first of all, we are not taking the audience away from YouTube or a Facebook, right, or a TikTok, right? We are essentially building our own audience, right, which is essentially utilizing Trell for a very different use case as compared to what they do on the other platform. Let's see it from both the angles, right? One is you as a content creator who's sharing content, and the other as a consumer, what you are experiencing on a platform like ours. So when you talk about the content creators, they come here and they share their stories in a 3-minute video format about their experiences, about their learnings around these lifestyle categories like fashion, beauty, gadgets, etc. on a platform like Trell. Right now, when the same user essentially goes on an Instagram, they share fragmented photographs of their life moments about clicking with a puppy, clicking with a fascinating place they have been to, but there are no stories there. Right? They're fragmented. It does not communicate what this person actually knows. When the same person goes on YouTube, most of them don't create on YouTube because you require advanced editing tools, advanced sound tools to be able to really create a sound video on a platform like that. Hence, for essentially storytelling, they had no platform to go to. And that's what Trell became in their life, right? We became essentially a storytelling platform where we brought down the entry barrier to blogging for these guys, right? So storytelling used to happen in the form of blogging earlier on the internet, right? But for users like us, they couldn't, just do blogging, right? And that's what we became for them, right? When it comes to consumer, right, your motivation to go to the other platforms is very different. When you go to a platform like TikTok, you see 30-second videos of lip syncing, dancing, people doing all sorts of talent showcase over there. It's like India's Got Talent, right? That is happening on TikTok, right? When you go to an Instagram, it's like a beautiful gallery of photographs. Like you find people kind of sharing all sorts of galleries, somebody sharing about art, somebody sharing about, his life, somebody sharing about his pup, etc., right? And the same user goes on a YouTube, it's an online television, right? You find really highly edited, amazing content, music videos, web series, and that's why you go there. Now, when it comes to essentially, living your passion or connecting with people who, relate with your passion and hearing their stories out, Trell becomes a go-to destination. If you have, passion around food, you have passion around travel, you have passion around, bike riding, traveling, movies, whatever. If you have a passion, right, Trell is a go-to destination for you to figure out what people are talking about those things on the internet, right? And that's what we have become for.
Got
awesome.
it.
That's great. Yeah. And is there something that you want to tell as a what should something that you want to leave with us, right? Pulkit, Prashant, what should I look forward to, man? I think as an investor, as a user, and what should I look forward to in the next, say, let's say 15, 20 months?
Prashant, would you like to take up?
Okay, I'm not asking for exit, Prashant, okay?
So I'll give you. So the point is that we are hiring the finest folks out there, and attracting the finest people who are willing to solve for this audience. Now, interestingly, that's one important point for us to understand, right? We all come from smaller towns, and there are people who are able to relate to the problem statement that we are chasing as a team. Now, we have absolute clarity on what we want to achieve. We want to enable people um, make better lifestyle choices. Every Indian should be able to make better lifestyle choices with us as a platform. And there are multiple talented people who are willing to join us on the mission. Now, what we as a team are trying to enable is we are trying to build this um, group of people who are super aligned and working together to solve for this specific need. It might take a year, it might take 2 years, 3 years. Only time will tell. But that's what we are doing, and with this platform, I think we should also appeal to anybody who's listening, to anybody who's an entrepreneur, or let's say somebody who is somebody who was thinking of starting something, but is now considering taking up a job or looking for exciting ideas, or anybody whosoever he is, who's to whom our problem statements excite them enough. Please feel free to drop a message to us. Happy to get you guys on board and work together towards this large problem to be solved. So I think, like Pulkit very well pointed out early on, where we'll keep on doing what we were doing, which was solve for the creator economy, give people a platform where they can share better, live better, consume better, be able to fulfill their lifestyle desires, aspirations, and whatnot through the information that we are providing them, and do that well with a good team in place.
That's a great note to wrap up. I think, Prashant. I think I'll just shout out to anybody who wants to reach out to Trell. You can ping them. Prashant's like accessible, or you ping me. I can connect you guys to Prashant and Pulkit. Prashant and Pulkit, it's been amazing. This conversation. I think it's exciting. Very informal. I just love being a part of the journey. Thanks for also having. Me as a part of the journey, and I think the journey continues, and we look forward to a lot more action from you guys, and all the very best from Java, Karthik, me, and Bhargavi. Look forward. Thank you, Pulkit.
It was a
Great.
pleasure.
Thanks, Vinod. Thanks, Karthik. Thanks, Bhargav, for having us over here. It was a pleasure speaking with you guys. And yes, a lot of parties on the way.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, guys, and
Forward to it.
good luck and Godspeed.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye.
So, with that, I think we've come to an end of another exciting Freewheeling Fridays. I love the candor of the founders, very grounded. This is what the best stuff is made of. Stay tuned. We'll come back again next week, same time, 6 o'clock. Feel free to participate in the conversation. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. And if you are lucky, you'll also get to see our family members walking behind us, or babies crying. So all the it comes with all the bells and whistles. Okay,
That's like freewheeling. Yeah, Karthik.
that's exactly what freewheeling is. Yes. Thank you so much, guys. I hope you like it. We're gonna make this video available on YouTube as well as on Twitter, so you can go back and view it. Until next week. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you. Bye bye. Have a good weekend.